Welcome back everyone. Time to do another comparison this time around between two phones that may be like kind of weird competitors to one another, but I personally feel like these are two very good phones. The Galaxy S10 was the flagship of last year. The Galaxy S20 FE is kind of like the S10e successor. You know, it's a cheaper phone. It's not supposed to rival the S20, but there's still a lot of cool features with this phone that the S10 it may not even have. Now, price tag wise, the S20 FE is retailing for $699. You can get them on $599 on Amazon right now. The Galaxy S10, though, you can pick up for less than $450 on Amazon. I'll go ahead and leave both of these linked down below. And I think that's going to be the biggest difference is probably the price tag. You know, you're going to be getting, pretty much a better phone, I think, from the S20 FE, but it's also more expensive for the most part. Now looking around the body and actually starting off with the front, the Samsung Galaxy S10, which came out last year, has that 6.1-inch dynamic AMOLED display. And last year when it came out, it was actually one of the best panels of that year in my opinion, and it still holds up extremely well. You have very little bezel around the whole entire display, the hole punch display in the top right corner, and it just looks so good. The screen bleeds off to the edge. It's 1440p, you have the fingerprint sensor in the display, and it really does look good. I've never had any problems with it. Yeah, it doesn't have any like 90 or 120 hertz refresh rate or anything, but I think the panel itself looks really nice, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody complain about the screen. There may have been an issue, I think, when it first came out, but since then it's been fixed, and honestly, the S10 has a very good looking panel on the front. With the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE also has a Super AMOLED display versus the dynamic AMOLED display that we have here. It's 6.5 inches, so definitely it's bigger. But this one is 1080p. You still have that fingerprint sensor in the display, and this one is a flat display. You notice how this screen kind of curves on the side? This one is completely flat, so it doesn't curve, but I think some people actually prefer this over this one, to be honest. But you also have a really cool feature of having that 120 hertz refresh rate on the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE. That is a very cool thing. I love that so much, and it makes the screen feel that much more smooth. It just makes the phone feel that much more smooth too. No matter what you do on it, it just kind of smoothens the whole experience, which is something I really do like. And I've liked that ever since even the OnePlus 7 Pro having that 90 hertz, and we have 120 hertz here, which is really cool. So definitely when it comes down to the panel may look better on the Samsung Galaxy S10, but I really do like the S20 FEs by having that 120 Hz refresh rate, which is something I really do like. On the bottom, USB Type-C on both phones, a headphone jack on the Samsung Galaxy S10 though, which is really interesting. And on the back, a glass back on the Samsung Galaxy S10, but a plastic back on the S20 FE. And this is definitely one of the more interesting aspects of Samsung. I don't know what they do sometimes. Their just reasoning makes no sense to me. They could have easily put a glass back on here. They put glass backs on like cheaper phones from back in the day, so they're trying to cut parts, save parts and all that, so I guess it's whatever, but it would have been really cool if this had a glass back. The Galaxy S10 feels much more premium. I really do like how the camera is almost flush with the back. It sticks out a little bit, but you have triple camera setups on both. The S20 FE's camera module, as you can see, I think it looks nicer. I just don't like how it sticks out so much. I really wish that wasn't the case. They could have made a thicker phone, but when you're putting this on a table, it does wobble back and forth. With the S10, doesn't really give us that wobble effect, which is something I really miss from even going from like a Galaxy S20 to this type of phone. So in terms of the outside, that really pretty much covers it up. And software-wise, we have the same exact software on both. The Galaxy S10 obviously has One UI 2. This one has One UI 2.5. They're both on One UI 2.5, but they're both going to be getting One UI 3. I think One UI 4, but the S20 FE is going to be getting an extra year of software support over the S10. So that is a very important thing to keep in mind when it comes down to the longevity of both devices. The S10 is going to be supported for 1 year less than the S20 FE, but as of right now, it really doesn't matter because they're still both supported. So for a majority of people, it's not really going to matter at all. But a couple years later, the S20 FE is probably going to last you longer at the end of the day. Now I'll go ahead and do a little bit of a speed test between these phones too, but I'll tell you the specs first. The Samsung Galaxy S20 FE has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 chipset, an octa-core CPU, Adreno 650 GPU, and 6 gigs of RAM on that base model, and 8 gigs of RAM on those two top tier models. Where the Samsung Galaxy S10 has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 chipset, an octa-core CPU, an Adreno 640 GPU, and 8 gigs of RAM on both models. There's only two models of this thing, and both have 8 gigs of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster one between both of these. Now that we're back, let me go ahead and clear out all the apps in the background. Now the gestures on Android are still a little weird, but it's totally okay. So all the apps are cleared out. So let me go ahead and start loading these things up. So the Play Store, 3, 2, 1. And the S20 FE, I think, actually was the faster one there. Scrolling through, they may look about the same. You know, one doesn't really scream to me that it's way faster than the other one. But that was definitely very interesting. Galaxy Store, 3, 2, 1. Now this one I've always had a weird pop-ups and stuff, and they're both on different panels, so I guess it doesn't matter. Phone calls, 3, 2, 1. About the same there too. Messages, 3, 2, 1. About the same there as well. We can do camera, 3, 2, 1. And about the same there as well. Not a ginormous difference there. We can go and get into some of these third-party apps that I have downloaded. I have them all here, but I guess I don't have them all here. We can go and start off with Thank You, 3, 2, 1. And I think the S10 was actually the faster one there. They both were pretty close. That was actually a very interesting thing. It's very rare that I see that close of a difference. Stack, 3, 2, I don't have it. We can do Snake versus Blocks, 3, 2, 1. And both were, again, very, very close. I don't know if one, exponentially won over the other one, but they both looked very, very close in my opinion. And gameplay, they look about the same as well. We can do Fruit Ninja, 3, 2, 1. And you can see the S20 FE definitely was the faster one there. The S10 shortly behind, but definitely the S20 FE was the faster one for sure. Snapchat, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I think the S20 FE was the faster one there too. They were both very, very close. We do Bofa, 3, 2, 1. And I don't know, I think this one was faster to get into like the initial panel, but this one was faster to open up that specific panel. So again, I don't really know if one specifically won, but they both were very close. We do Twitter, 3, 2, 1. And I think the S10 was faster there. We can go and do Paper IO 2, 3, 2, 1. And both were very close there too. Let's go and get into a game and see if there's any glitchiness going on. And sometimes there is, and I almost died on that one. Okay, I eventually did die on that one, but they both looked very, very close here too. I don't think one won here. We can go and end it off with the Real Racing 3, I guess, but again, it may be messed up on the S10, 3, 2, 1. I've had a lot of glitchiness going on where I had to re-download it on both phones and stuff, so it may be an issue, but I guess we'll wait and see. And the S20 FE was pretty fast actually, but the S10 was a little bit behind it. Not a crazy big difference, but I think when it comes down to it, I really don't know which one is the faster one. I guess I can go into RAM management and test, but I think the S10 is going to be the better one here, mostly because it has more RAM than this model, but you can get the same amount of RAM on both. It just so happens that I have more RAM on the S20 FE. On the S10, as you saw, the S20 FE did glitch up there. So I can definitely tell you, I think when it comes down to it, the S20 FE may be the faster one, but even then, sometimes the S10 was faster. I don't know if there was like a consistent winner every single time, but both phones are very fast, and hopefully you guys can make up your own opinion from this. So with that being said, let me go ahead and hit on the cameras very quickly. On the back, as you can see, triple camera setups. Like I said, you have a 12 megapixel wide angle lens, 8 megapixel telephoto lens, and then a 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor on the S20 FE. And on the S10, we have 12 megapixel sensors, a wide angle lens, a 12 telephoto lens, and then a 16 megapixel ultra wide sensor. Now, when it comes down to the software of both devices, you can see they are exactly the same thing, and they kind of have the same type of quality going too, but I actually kind of like how the S10 photo looks like in real life. This one on the S20 FE looks a little bit more bland. This one looks like it pops out a little bit more. I don't know if that has to do with the post-processing, but I think the S10 kind of looks a little bit better just from this little thing, but I didn't want to show you that. I wanted to show you the amount of features that both cameras have at the very end. And you can kind of see, weirdly enough, the Galaxy S20 FE does kind of show more features than the S10. Now, I think this one is still stuck on One UI 2 and not necessarily One UI 2.5, so you will pretty much have the same exact features on both. Whatever features you see here will also be on the S10. It is not a S20 FE specific feature, it is a software feature, and once it gets One UI 2.5, once I update to it, then it'll be perfectly fine. But both phones have the same exact capability for the most part. It really just comes down to the quality. Now with the S10, I've had a really good experience with it. Like I said, 4K at 60, no 8K, but neither of these phones support 8K. The S20 does, and even the Note 20s. And I love this phone. I love this phone camera. I've compared it to pretty much all the other cameras out there once this phone came out, even after phones. And I love this camera. I think it's really good. You have that telephoto lens, you have that ultra wide. It's a little glitchy here and there, but I think the quality of this camera and the lens is very, very nice. And at the end of the day, I think it honestly is still one of the better cameras out there. It's not perfect, there's no like 4K 120 or like 8K, but I think it's totally okay for a majority of people out there. And I think the Galaxy S20 FE is pretty much the exact same thing. I really don't think you're going to be getting any crazier features on this one that you don't already have on the S20 FE. You do have a 32 megapixel front-facing camera on this phone, which really doesn't mean too much. I feel like the S10's camera is still extremely good too, even though it's only 10 megapixels on the front. But this camera, like I said, you have that telephoto and you have that ultra-wide sensor as well. And at the end of the day, that is a very, very cool thing that I really do like. You know, you have multiple different setups on here, so you can have that ultra wide if you want to zoom out a lot, or that telephoto if you want to zoom in a lot. So between both, I don't think one really blows the other one out of the water, but I think that maybe the S20 FE is better because it's newer, but they're both very close. And if you're not like comparing them side by side, I don't think you're going to notice too big of a difference, if I'm being honest. Now, when they get off with the battery life, we have a 3400 mAh battery on the Galaxy S10, but a 4500 mAh battery on the S20 FE. And I'll definitely tell you, when it comes down to the battery life, I feel like the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE has the better battery life at the end of the day. Now, it's not like a crazy, actually, I would probably tell you it's a pretty big difference. You can always turn off that 120 Hz refresh rate on the S20 FE and get better battery life, but I don't think one is really like the craziest best one. But the S20 FE I think is noticeably better than the Galaxy S10. So to kind of sum up this video and answer the question, you know, should you pick up the S10? Should you pick up the S20 FE? Now, I'll tell you pros and cons for both. If you want to pick up the S10, you know, it's a great device still. If you have it, I would not go to the S20 FE. It has a lot going for it. A great screen, great build quality, a better build quality in my opinion than the S20 FE. You have a great camera setup, you know, wireless charging, reverse wireless charging, pretty good battery life still, great performance. It even beat my S20 FE sometimes. So I don't know, like, you know, if you have an S10, I 100% would not go for S20 FE. If you had like an S9 or something, then maybe go for it if you had a super old phone. But I think the S10, for, you know, for being over a year old, is still a really good phone, even compared to a brand new budget phone. And it's even cheaper than the S20 FE on Amazon right now. The S20 FE I think is a great phone too. It has a lot going for it. That 120 Hz refresh rate, better battery life, pretty good camera, maybe better than the S10, maybe, I don't know. You still have the wireless charging, reverse wireless charging, expandable storage, I think I already said that. Pretty decent build quality. The back is completely made out of plastic, which really sucks. And it's a brand new device, so you don't have to worry about anybody else using it. And I think that's a really good thing too. But again, if I had to pick either one of these, I would probably pick the Galaxy S20 FE because it's newer and it's going to last longer. But I think the S10 is, like, if this phone was a 10 out of 10, which it's not, this phone is easily like a 9.5 out of 10 in my opinion. And all it's missing is the extra year software updates. And I mean, that's, and the 120 Hz refresh rate. Other than that, they're both very close in terms of everything. So that really pretty much covers it up. Like I said, if you want to pick them up, links are down in the description below. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit that like button, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count. So it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also, check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.